plaintiff, Thomas Van Ryzen, says he was married to the defendant's mother, and from the age of 3, the defendant was defiant. Thomas claims the defendant moved in with him after he divorced her mother, and he's suing her today for unpaid rent and loans. Defendant Jennifer Hedden says Thomas is nothing but an abusive drunk, and when he was done beating her mom, he would beat on her and her sibling. Jennifer claims the defendant was arrested more than once for the abuse, and she denies owing him for anything.
Start with you.
A long time ago, I married her mother, and I knew that this was a package deal. I got 2 kids.
When did you marry her mom?
28 years ago. So I sit there and I took them all in and everything seemed to be going okay, but Jennifer was very defiant and everything.
Starting what age?
Oh, from 3 on.
Okay.
So she didn't obey rules, and she didn't like being told what to do. But
did she get in trouble in school and throughout her?
No, she was very good in school and everything. But
it was just you.
Oh.
If she did well with everybody else, that's typically the measure of a child's behaviors in school.
Well,
if they listen to the teacher and don't listen to you, it's something about you. Is that right? Am I right or wrong?
No comment.
She's scared to say it. That means you really will own her. She's still scared. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, anyways.
She was defiant. How was the other child?
Oh, he was all right. I mean, he, like any other normal kid, he'd find the hard way to do things. Rather than do them, he'd find ways to get out of doing it, and just like any other typical
He wouldn't
kid.
listen to you either. That's the point.
No, pretty much.
All right. Go ahead. All right. You're a good man to have presided over the household with 2 children that weren't yours, though. Good man.
Thank you.
So how did things work out with your wife? Are you all still together?
We're divorced now.
Okay. She wouldn't listen either.
You got that one right.
When did you all divorce?
8 years ago.
Okay, but you're still in the lives of...
No, pretty much not anymore.
Since when?
I haven't seen their mother since the divorce, and Jennifer moved back in with me for a while, and that's why we're here today.
Did you see Jennifer prior to moving back in?
Yes, I did. She was married, had 2 kids, thought everything was okay, but...
And you were involved with them?
Yes, I was.
All right, good. All right, you want to give me some background?
As he said, he was married to my mom. They started dating back when I was 3 or 4. And they were married until I was, I believe, 26 or 27. Tom was a drunk. He was physically, emotionally, mentally abusive our whole entire relationship, our whole childhood. When he was done beating on my mom, he beat on us. He, fists, 2x4s, whatever he could come in contact with.
Sir?
That's a very amusing story.
No, it's not.
Well, no, not the way she put it.
Not even amusing to make up.
I have court cases that go where I charged him with child abuse that he pleaded guilty to.
Sir?
Every time she had a chance to try and break her mother and me up, that's what she would do. She would call the police. And just to make matters simpler, they would just sit there and they would just arrest me, and they would take me in and they would hold me for the 72 hours.
And you would plead guilty?
And I pled guilty to some because they asked me if I was drinking, and I said, yes, I was.
Let me see the documents. This isn't what we're here for, but she's speaking to your character. In this case, you found guilty of battery?
There was no battery in there.
Another time? Battery again?
Those are usually the charges that they would come up with,
and
just so they could get out of it.
Convicted. All right, anything else you want to tell me?
He kind of kept coming around and visiting the family and stuff like that. We,
Did he recover from his alcoholism?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Sir, do you have a drinking problem?
No, I do not. I've gone to counseling, and they all agreed with me that they said they did not see a problem. Do I drink? Yes. But then turn around and ask her, does she smoke pot? I'm bad because I drink, but she's okay if you smoke pot.
Drunks get violent.
I do not.
Potheads not out. It's a big difference. Go ahead, sir. Tell me about the rent and loans you're suing her for.
Well, after she ran out of boyfriends and beds to sleep in and stuff, she got booted out from her husband and her fiance, and she ran out of places.
She had both?
Yeah.
All right.
So,
All right.
so she
Go
ran
ahead.
out of places.
Go, girl. All these men cheating, she got a husband and a fiance at the same time. You done rounded off with a boyfriend?
One or two. Tom was a drunk. He was physically, emotionally, mentally abusive our whole entire relationship, our whole childhood. When he was done beating on my mom, he beat on us.
Defendant Jennifer Hedden says when the plaintiff was married to her mother, he was an abusive drunk who would beat on her after he was done beating on her mother.
Rent and loans, sir. What was the agreement, when, and what happened?
When she moved in, she asked to move back home.
When? I'm sorry.
That would be in June of 2012.
All right, June of 12, she moved in with you.
And she wanted to save money so that she could get an apartment so she could move closer to her kids.
Mm-hmm.
So we came up with a gentleman's agreement that I would not charge her rent, but she had to help out with the chores around the house. We both agreed upon that. Well, through the next 5.5 months, she did very little to nothing around the house, didn't pay any rent, literally lived there rent-free. And I don't know about you.
You worked, obviously.
I was going for Social Security disability.
So you didn't work.
I did not
and
work.
neither did she.
She had a job.
So she was the cook and clean, and she worked, and you were just to lay back and drink.
No.
What was your duty? What was your responsibility?
Well, there are still things that have to get done around the house. I mean, I would clean and maintenance the house and mow lawns and whatever
All
else
right,
had to
but
get
I
done.
guess you're saying that that's not the issue. The issue is that you weren't going to allow her to stay rent-free, and so that was the compensation
Right,
for
it was
rent.
a gentleman's agreement.
How much per month?
Now that she has not done anything, I feel that I should get around $200.
What was the agreement? You all didn't have an agreed upon amount?
The agreement was chores for rent.
Okay. You don't know what chores. Washing the dishes would have been enough? That's what I'm saying. You had to be a
The
little
same
more
amount of
definitive.
chores that she had when she was there when she was growing up.
You just said she didn't obey you. So that means she did
didn't.
nothing.
She didn't.
That means she
Doesn't
did
now.
nothing. All right. And how long did she stay, sir?
5.5 months.
And how did she come to leave?
We had a disagreement.
Over?
Her.
You've been drinking today, sir. Over her what?
Well, she just didn't, like I said, it just wasn't working out. She wasn't paying rent, wasn't helping out around the house. Was always.
Tell me about the discussion that ended the tenancy.
I asked her basically at one point in there as to how much money she had saved up to get an apartment where she could move out. She never answered the question, but that kind of answered it for me. I knew that she wasn't saving anything because every chance she got, she'd be out gallivanting around looking for more boyfriends.
When you asked about this $200 a month during the time she stayed there, what did she tell you?
When I would call her on her cell phone, she never answered back, but I would just leave a message that she owes me money.
Has she ever responded?
No.
All right. And the loans you're suing for?
That was periodic money. The first month she lived there, I let her use my truck because she didn't have a car so she could get to and from work. Told her to keep the gas tank full, but I had to sit there and fill that periodically. Anyway, there was little bits of money here and there for cigarettes, gas after
Equaling
she
how
got a
much,
car.
sir?
$180.
And you told her to pay that back at what point, sir?
That was another agreement that as she got money, as she got paid, that she would pay me little by little.
She never gave you little by little?
She gave me periodically a $50 bill.
That's
here or
even
there.
more than little by little. That's periodically.
Well, it come to,
Go ahead, ma'am. He says you owe him for staying there. Did you agree to do housework in lieu of rent?
No, I did not.
Why did you hesitate when you told me that? People who hesitate in answering a question, typically they're not being 100% honest.
Even if I had, I was never there. I was working 16-hour days.
Even if I had, that's another indication that you're not being honest, ma'am.
I don't recall making the agreement.
That's the three, right? Three of the most transparent answers you can give that indicate that you're being slightly, if not totally, dishonest. What did you expect, to live there free?
He had told me that at any time, if I ever needed a place, that I was always welcome to stay there.
When did he tell you that?
Throughout my childhood growing up, throughout my marriage, and after my marriage ended.
And what about the loans?
I paid everything back that I
Why do you
borrowed
think he's
from him.
doing this today, then?
I believe he's out of money. I believe he probably hasn't gotten his Social Security yet, and he is out of money. He has not had a job in over 8 years.
And you're the only one he could make up a story about?
Yes, as far as I'm aware.
As far as you're aware, you're the only person on the planet that he can make up a story about owing him money.
Nobody else has contact with him. He pretty much stays to himself.
Sir, you don't have many friends, family, or others?
I have all kinds of friends and family.
He was physically, emotionally, mentally abusive. He, fists, 2x4s, whatever he could come in contact with.
Sir?
That's a very amusing story.
No, it's not.
Well, no, not the way
Not
she put it.
even amusing to make up.
Defendant Jennifer Hedden says when the plaintiff was married to her mother, he was an abusive drunk who would beat on her after he was done beating on her mother.
Sir, did you want to speak? I need some evidence from someone. You want to speak at all? I need to hear a third party or something. This is hard to decide. State your name.
My name is Terry Giesler.
You know anything that could provide some insight?
From me and Jennifer talking, we've known each other for about 3 years. We're engaged now.
So he's a fiance.
Not the other one, no. When me and Jennifer met, she had just got out of her marriage. We were dating for a little while, kind of went on and off for about 3 years. She had had a back surgery done, and I let her stay with me for a couple of months and take care of her while she was doing that. After a while, we weren't dating at the time, and I lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment with my kids and said, I kind of need my space back. So she moved out, and I believe that's when she moved in with Tom, was shortly after her surgery. From what Jennifer told me, it was constantly complaining about where she was at night. If she went out with friends, complaining about that. I know she worked a lot. She was working 2 jobs at the time. Said that she wasn't doing enough around the house, wanted her to, clean, take care of things. I know she was using the truck, but as far as I know, she was putting gas in the tank.
All right, and anyone have any text messages or something? Anyone have any direct evidence?
No.
Gentleman's agreement. I kind of like to think most people are honest and will honor their debts and stuff, but apparently life is going to slap me upside the head here.
And how many months are you seeking rent for, sir?
5.5.
It's $1,100. I'm going to grant you that, ma'am. I believe you were hesitant and evasive in your answers. So I believe that you feel an obligation. And even if there was no specific amount agreed to, $200 a month is less than market value. It's certainly reasonable. I'm not going to grant, sir, these loans for cigarettes and gas. Just don't believe that those were agreements. If they were very vague, and I can't determine which cigarette to charge for and which cigarette was a gift. It may have been the case that while you're smoking, you say, here, you want a cigarette? Then the other cases, it might be, do you want to borrow a cigarette? Then it could have been, do you want to buy a cigarette? And there's 20 cigarettes to a pack. And I don't know how many packs you guys go through. $1,100, sir, is your judgment. Have a good day. That's my opinion.
There is no relationship between us.
No.
You abused us our whole lives. The reason I moved out of your house the last time is because you shoved me 3 weeks after a back surgery.
You hit
Which I
me.
ended up going and having another back surgery
You
because
sit there
of
and
it.
you would hit me in my bad arm. I didn't call the cops.
I would hit you.
Yes, you did. In the truck. It was clowning around, but it was still my bad arm.
Yes, but you slapped me across the face and you shoved me after a back surgery.